I would say that circumstance is making you feel, or at least you're believing that that circumstance is causing you to feel and think in a certain way. And so if you say, I am this way because of that circumstance, then I would say that circumstance, you're a victim to your environment because it's controlling you.
I'm your host, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Let's begin.
This one is from Heather, and she writes, I just returned from your advanced course in Marco Island. Amazing. My husband returned from a trip the following day and had been exposed to COVID-19. He tested positive on Saturday, November 14th. That same day, I tested negative, even though I'd been fully exposed for almost 1 week. As of this email, it is 11/18, and my husband is still down with all these symptoms. I'm confident we'll recover. I continue to be symptom-free. I've been doing the Blessing of the Energy Centers meditation from the Progressive Workshop on a daily basis and focusing on healing energy for my husband. Any other meditations or procedures you recommend to keep up my immune system? I know that I have a very strong immune system to start with, but I'm convinced that our work during the advanced course gave me an extra boost.
Okay, thank you, Heather, for coming to Marco Island, and thank you for participating in this work. We use mind as medicine in this work, that so many people are immersed in the illusion of three-dimensional reality, and in some measure, consciously or unconsciously, reacting to their own thoughts and reacting to certain cues in their known external reality that keeps them becoming weakened by their response to their own thoughts or to some condition in their outer world. And when a person is knocked out of balance by thought alone, when a person is knocked out of homeostasis because of something in their outer environment that causes them to react in certain ways, their perception of it as a problem that's bigger than them actually weakens the organism, because you're using all this energy to prepare yourself, whatever it is that you're thinking or in your environment that could be potentially threatening or dangerous. That being said, a lot of times that is unconscious. People don't know that they're doing that because that's normal, that's natural, that's what everybody does. And so when you come to an event and you're sitting in that chair and there's no television to turn on, there's no cell phone you can grab for, there's no person you could call, there's no thing you can do to get distracted. You're sitting with you. And nobody else is getting up and moving, nobody else is doing anything. Everybody's engaged in crossing that river of change. Something fundamentally important happens. You stretch somebody outside of their known thoughts, out of their known emotions and feelings, out of their own habits and propensities, and they're sitting there and they step into the unknown, super uncomfortable. The analytical mind goes crazy. The body starts revving up. It's looking for an arousal. You hear voices in your head telling you to quit, give up. You don't like Dr. Joe. All that stuff comes up, and it should, because that's the boundary of the known. And the body's doing everything it can to keep us back in that familiar place. And so I just keep pushing people a little further. I keep inspiring a little bit more. We keep having them experience it. We have them remind themselves of what they did well. We give them an opportunity, if they did it again, how they love their experience. And each time they get more and more comfortable in relaxing into the unknown. And the unknown becomes less of a threatening place, and there's more presence. You can be present without being preoccupied with something out there, or with your thoughts, or what's going to happen next, or what happened yesterday. You can relax into the present moment. And the side effect of that is that you're less responsive now to the conditions in your environment. In fact, by the second or third day, most people forget about their life. And you have to forget about your known personal reality to create another one. Otherwise, you're still obsessing about the life that isn't working. So then we know then, if you combine that change where a person finally disentangles from the program and they can create brain and heart coherence, Heather, and they learn how to open their hearts and they learn how to connect to the field, they're going to be less likely to say, because we drill this in so many different ways, I'm upset because of the music in the room. I'm upset because of the person next to me. I'm upset that we went a little bit longer than we should have had lunch at 12 o'clock and it's 1:30. All those things that bother people in the beginning, by the second or third day, they're responding less. It doesn't cause them to feel a reaction any longer, so they're less reactionary to their environment. So if you're reacting to your environment and I say, Heather, why are you so upset? And you say it's because of this circumstance, I would say that circumstance is making you feel, or at least you're believing that circumstance is causing you to feel and think in a certain way. And so if you say, I am this way because of that circumstance, then I would say that circumstance, you're a victim to your environment because it's controlling you. It's controlling your feelings and thoughts. And so when things are good, you feel good. When things are bad, you feel bad. And so we're at the effect of polarity or duality. So as you begin to start feeling elevated emotions, and we know this to be the case, when people start opening their hearts and they start practicing wholeness and gratitude, their immune system responds dramatically. We have research to show that in 4 days, your immune system can strengthen by 50% by making immunoglobulin A, the body's primary defense against bacteria and viruses. Now, you have your own natural flu shot, and when you feel love and it's consistent and it's coherent, and you're doing it every day, you start producing chemicals, neurotransmitters, enzymes, hormones that are interested in creating wholeness or restoring the body back to homeostasis. And if the nervous system through the brain and heart coherence is in patterns of harmonics, and the autonomic nervous system now is in a rhythm, that's order. And so then you start seeing homeostasis returning back to the body, and the body's innate capacity to be able to tolerate or become immune to conditions in the environment is because the person is more immune to the reaction. They're less reactionary to their environment, which means they're not squandering or losing any energy because of some person or some circumstance. And yep, it was a lot of discomfort to overcome their frustration, their impatience, their resentment, all of those things that people think are normal. They sat in the presence of those emotions and they believed that there was something on the other side. And if it showed up again in the next meditation, they go after it. And they go after it and go after it and go after it until it just finally goes away. And they didn't give up on themselves. They didn't quit. Their will became greater. Their mind became more expanded. Their love grew. And they're getting closer to singularity, to source. They're getting closer to wholeness, pure love. They're elevating their energy and frequency. And there's a whole different consciousness that goes along with this that causes you to become more of a creator of your life and less of a victim of your life. And so then you're immune to anything in your environment because you're producing oxytocin, and oxytocin is signaling certain chemicals that causes your heart to swell. And the feeling feels so good, you don't want to judge anybody. You don't want to react to anybody. Everything just seems much better and okay, and you're chilled. Everybody else is having a fit, and you're just kind of in the present moment. Well, by you responding less, the environment is no longer weakening the organism, then you're less susceptible to things in your environment. And so your immune system is your inner environment. It's your internal protection system. And you are now utilizing less of your external protection system, that sympathetic fight or flight system. So there's more energy for the immune system to make healthy antibodies. They're making natural vaccines. You're making natural antibodies. And now the body would never let a virus affect the immune system. The immune system is an army now. There's just more T cells to be able to fight any virus. And the T cells are aggressive enough that they can shut off the mechanism in a virus that causes the T cell to become weakened. So now the T cell is more robust and the virus is not allowed in. So we've done studies on this. We've taken blood from people that were at our event in Indian Wells, and they came to Marco Island as well, and they had very significant changes in their brain scans. They had really significant changes in their HRV measurements, and their blood values had dramatic changes with going from sickness to health. And we exposed their blood. You were there, Heather, to the scientists telling the story. We exposed their blood to SARS-CoV-2. Now, that virus, it's a flu, and it's just a little bit more of an aggressive flu, and it affects people that aren't as healthy. It affects people that are out of balance. It affects people that have a compromised immune system, that are on medications, that are overweight, that have other chronic health conditions. They're not sleeping well. They're out of homeostasis. And so that virus just tends to be more aggressive and it's more opportunistic when the body's out of homeostasis and balance. So we subject this man's blood, showed very, very important signs of his body being way out of balance and his body being sick. We subjected his blood to SARS-CoV-2, that virus, before the week-long event. And as you would expect, all of the cells became infected. But when we subjected his blood 1 week later to the COVID-19 virus, after a week of him feeling such profound love that he was actually in a different state, we saw his blood make dramatic changes. We wondered what would happen if we subjected to the COVID. And of course, there was very little viral load. It was such a small percentage that we could barely see any infection taking place. He was immune to his environment because he was no longer a victim to his environment. So there are harvestable factors in that blood that's saying that certain genes had to be upregulated. And so you made enough changes in your body to move it back into homeostasis that you could be in the presence of a virus and not necessarily become infected. Why? Because there's more internal order. And how do you maintain that? React less to the circumstances in your life. Make sure that heart of yours is open when you finish your meditation. When you get done, you should feel differently. Practice brain and heart coherence. Keep your energy up the remainder of the day, independent of anything that's going on in your life. And see what kind of effects it produces, not only within you, but all around you. So it's not like your husband did anything wrong. He's not doing anything wrong. You just were trained through a certain process over a course of a week that caused your inner world, your body's innate capacity to be resistant to anything in the environment means you're beginning to master your environment. And the more that you master your environment, the more you overcome some aspect of yourself and become something else. The side effect of that is no longer showing up as natural or normal. You start showing up as supernatural. And it's not like you have to obsess about telling your immune system to make all the right T cells and to make IgA, and you don't need to do any of that. You just need to keep doing exactly what you're doing and seeing in time how you can begin to make significant changes in your body, in your environment, and in your life. So we have the data now. We're taking the blood from those subjects in Marco Island that we retested, and we're going to find out what exactly it is in their blood that makes them immune to viruses. And it's just because their attitude has changed enough that they're less susceptible to their environment.